Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Before we get started, just a quick note. Everything we talk about here is for educational purposes only, and it's definitely not investment advice.
For sure, for sure. Got to get that out of the way. But man, this past week has been absolutely wild in the crypto and tech world. So much happening, it's kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah, you said it. From crazy market swings thanks to global stuff to major regulatory changes and a bunch of new projects popping up, it's a lot to digest.
Exactly. But that's why we do this, right? Cut through the noise and figure out what really matters for those who want to stay ahead of the curve.
You got it. That's the whole point of this deep dive. I take these sources, all this info, and give you the stuff that's both quick and easy to get, but also super informative.
And hopefully spark some aha moments along the way.
Right, those moments where you're like, wait a minute, I never thought of it like that before. So let's get into it, starting with some pretty big market moves thanks to those tariff announcements.
Oh yeah, big time. So, April 2nd was, get this, Tariff Liberation Day.
Okay, that's a new one.
Right. Anyway, President Trump announced all these new tariffs on imports, setting a 10% baseline, but some places got hit harder. Like Taiwan, they're looking at 32%, China 34%, and foreign cars 25%.
Whoa, so basically overnight, things got a lot more expensive for certain goods.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how fast this kind of thing, this global political stuff, spills over into the crypto markets.
You're telling me the S&P 500 futures, NASDAQ futures, they all dipped. And over in crypto land, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they saw a pretty good shakeup.
For sure. Volatility City over there. And, the crypto options market. It was like everyone suddenly decided to hedge their bets.
Yeah, like batten down the hatches just in case.
Exactly. Tons of put options, those bets that the price will go down, especially for Bitcoin at $80,000. So it seemed like a lot of people were thinking, okay, this might get ugly. Let's protect ourselves.
Yeah, almost like that crypto insurance policy, just in case. Okay, so tariffs are making everyone a little nervous. Let's shift gears now and talk about, oh boy, regulations.
Here we go, right? Yeah. Always something going on there.
Every week. So where do we even begin?
How about we start in Asia with Japan? They're doing some pretty interesting stuff.
Japan, okay, lay it on me. What are they up to?
So they're actually planning to reclassify cryptocurrencies as financial products by 2026. It's a pretty big move, like a whole different category.
So that means they'll be treated more like stocks and bonds.
That's the idea. It's all about tighter regulations, clamping down on things like insider trading and scams. Basically, bringing crypto more in line with how traditional financial markets are regulated.
So stricter rules, but maybe that brings more legitimacy.
Yeah, that's the hope. It could make big institutions more comfortable getting involved.
Yeah.
And don't forget taxes. Right now, crypto profits in Japan, they can get hit with really high taxes.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
Right. So maybe this reclassification could lead to some better tax breaks. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
So sometimes more rules can actually be a good thing. Okay, let's hop over to another part of the world. What's happening in Nigeria?
Nigeria's doing something pretty big, too. They've officially recognized cryptocurrency as an asset class.
Like legally recognizing it.
Yep. They signed this new law, the Investment and Securities Act, ISA 2025, and bam, crypto is legit.
So what does that mean? Like practically, what changes?
Well, now their version of the SEC, the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission, they're going to be in charge of all those virtual asset service providers, the VASPs like exchanges and such.
Right. So more oversight, more rules.
Yep. And they're coming down hard on Ponzi schemes, which, let's face it, have been a huge problem there. Big penalties for anyone involved in that stuff. So they're definitely serious about cleaning things up.
More clarity and hopefully more protection for people.
Exactly. Okay, ready for a quick trip to Taiwan?
Taiwan, yeah. What's new over there?
They've been busy with both AI and crypto stuff. First up, the Taiwan Intellectual Property Office. They've come out and clarified their stance on AI art and copyright.
So are they saying it's okay to just copy an artist's style using AI?
Well, not exactly. They're saying that just because you use AI to mimic a style, that doesn't automatically mean you're infringing on copyright.
So there's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah, it's about whether the specific thing the AI creates is basically a copycat of an existing work. Considering the techniques, colors, composition, all that stuff.
So it's not a free-for-all?
Nope, not at all. But there's also some news about Tongwa Post, their postal service.
Oh, yeah, I saw something about that. What's going on?
So they're actually going to stop offering deposit accounts to virtual currency platforms starting May 28th, 2025. They're saying it's because of security concerns.
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of that Operation Choke Point 2.0 thing in the US. Remember that?
Yeah, where they basically pressured banks to stop working with certain businesses they didn't like. Some people are definitely drawing that parallel,
Yeah, and it could make things tough for crypto businesses in Taiwan.
for sure. And speaking of regulations, legislator Huang Shanshan, they held a big public hearing on crypto legislation, so those conversations are definitely heating up.
So Taiwan's got some clarity on AI art, but maybe some challenges ahead for crypto. What about across the pond in the UK?
The UK's been making moves too. Their Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, has given the thumbs up to BlackRock and Galaxy Digital UK's subsidiary to operate as crypto asset companies. And Galaxy Digital also got approval for derivatives trading.
BlackRock getting that FCA approval, that's a big deal, right? They're huge in the traditional finance world.
Totally. Okay, are you ready for the U.S. update?
Hit me. I'm sure there's a lot to cover, as always.
Where to even start? Okay, so the SEC has finally clarified what they think about covered stablecoins. Those are the stablecoins that are backed 1.1 with USD and used mostly for payments and stuff, not really for investing.
So like the ones you'd use for everyday transactions.
Exactly. And the SEC says those are not securities, which is good news for stablecoin issuers who are focused on that kind of utility.
Clarity is always good, right? What about the SEC itself? Any shakeups in leadership?
Oh yeah, there's a new sheriff in town, potentially. Paul Atkins, his nomination for SEC chair, just got approved by the Senate Banking Committee, and a lot of people think he's going to be more crypto-friendly.
Interesting. So if he gets confirmed by the full Senate, that could really change things up, right?
It could, for sure.
Yeah.
And on the legislative side, they've introduced this new thing called the Securities Clarity Act. It's a proposed law that would basically exempt a whole bunch of crypto assets from being classified as securities.
Whoa, that would be huge. Talk about a game changer.
If it passes, it would definitely shake things up. Now, remember those staking lawsuits against Coinbase?
Yeah, what's the latest on that?
Well, some states are backing off. Illinois, Kentucky, Vermont, and South Carolina, they've all dropped their cases.
So some good news for Coinbase, at least in those states.
Yeah, but there are still other states that are going after them. And of course, the SEC dropped their own federal lawsuit against Coinbase's staking products a while back.
It's all very complicated, isn't it?
It is a real legal maze. But okay, last stop on our regulatory world tour, South Africa.
South Africa, all right, what's happening down there?
So their tax agency, the South African Revenue Service, SARS, they're now requiring crypto traders, exchanges, and those middlemen to register for tax purposes.
No more flying under the radar.
Nope. They're serious about tracking those crypto gains and making sure everyone's paying their fair share.
Okay, so a lot going on with regulations around the world. Let's move on to something a bit more fun, institutional adoption.
Yeah, this is where things get really exciting. We're seeing more and more big players, established institutions, and even entire countries getting into crypto.
I mean, it's not really a fringe thing anymore, is it?
Not at all. Let's start with the OG Bitcoin bull, Michael Saylor, and his company, MicroStrategy.
Those guys are all in, aren't they? What's their latest move?
Well, Saylor's still super bullish, of course. He's actually predicting that Bitcoin could hit $13 million in the next 20 years. Crazy, right?
That's quite the prediction. So basically, he thinks Bitcoin will be worth more than gold someday.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And MicroStrategy is still buying up Bitcoin like crazy. They've been selling company stock, issuing convertible bonds, all to get their hands on more Bitcoin.
Talk about putting your money where your mouth is. What about other companies? Are any of them following MicroStrategy's lead?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Check out MetaPlanet in Japan. They're the biggest Bitcoin treasury company over there, and they're on a buying spree, too.
I'm sensing a trend here.
Yep. They just issued 2 billion yen in bonds, specifically to buy more Bitcoin. Their goal is to hold 21,000 Bitcoin by 2026.
Ambitious. So are they just buying it and holding it?
Yeah, that's the strategy. They just bought another 696 Bitcoin recently, in fact.
Wow, that's a pretty big chunk of change.
It is. Okay, now how about Tether? They're the big kahuna in the stablecoin world.
Right, but are they getting in on the Bitcoin action too?
Oh yeah, they're not sitting on the sidelines. In the first quarter of this year, they added another 8,888 Bitcoin to their stash. They're now holding a whopping $7.8 billion worth of Bitcoin.
They must be making a killing with all the stablecoin activity.
They are. They just reported record profits, $4.5 billion. But they're not just focusing on Bitcoin. They've also announced they're going to launch a new stablecoin that's specifically designed to play by the U.S. rules.
So they're diversifying and trying to make nice with the U.S. regulators. Smart move. What about some of the, shall we say, less expected players? What's GameStop up to these days?
Oh, GameStop, they're up to some interesting stuff. They just announced this $1.5 billion convertible note offering.
What's that exactly?
It's basically a way for them to raise money by issuing debt that can be converted into stock later on. And guess what? They're going to use some of that money to buy Bitcoin.
GameStop buying Bitcoin. That's not what I would have expected.
I know, right? They're pivoting from selling video games to becoming a Bitcoin holding company. Their CEO, Ryan Cohen, he's also been personally investing a bunch of money in GME stock.
So they're all in on the crypto train, it seems. Now, what about governments? Are any of them thinking about adding Bitcoin to their national reserves?
Actually, yeah, there's some chatter about that. A government official in Brazil came out and said that they need to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're even talking about putting 5% of their international reserves into Bitcoin.
Wow, that's a bold move. Are any other countries thinking along those lines?
Yeah, South Carolina, they've got a Bitcoin reserve bill going through their legislature. It would let their state treasurer invest up to 10% of state funds in Bitcoin, up to 1 million coins.
So not just Brazil, then.
Nope. And Texas is also considering it. They've got a bill that would let them invest $250 million from their Economic Stabilization Fund into crypto.
So Bitcoin as a safe haven asset, that's the thinking.
It seems like it. It's definitely a new way of looking at it.
Okay, so we've got companies, we've got governments. What about the big traditional finance players, like Fidelity and BlackRock? Are they doing more with crypto?
Oh, yeah, they're getting in on the action, too. Fidelity is now letting their clients invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin through those crypto IRAs, the retirement accounts.
So now you can literally bet on Bitcoin for your retirement.
Pretty much. And Fidelity's also filed an application for a spot ETF for Solana. And remember BlackRock, we talked about them getting approval in the UK, but they've also got a Bitcoin ETF in the US that's attracting a ton of investment.
Okay, so traditional finance and crypto are getting pretty cozy.
They are. It's definitely a sign of the times. Okay, ready to dive into some of the cool new projects and innovations?
Let's do it. This is always the fun part.
Right. So first up, something a little different. Taiwan has launched their first micro-short drama platform called Meow Short app.
Micro short dramas, okay? I'm intrigued. What are those?
Think TikTok, but for stories. Short, serialized dramas, really bite-sized content.
So people just don't have the attention span for longer stuff anymore.
Maybe, but it's definitely catching on, especially in Asia.
Interesting. So what other new projects are out there?
There's this one called Reach Me. It's a paid chat app that uses Binance Coin BNB for people to connect with KOLs, those key opinion leaders, those influencers.
So you got to pay to talk to these influencers.
That's the idea. It's supposed to cut down on spam and make sure the KOLs are actually getting compensated for their time.
Makes sense, I guess. But is anyone actually using it?
Well, CZ himself, the founder of Binance, he's the one who announced it, so, it's got some clout. But there was a bit of a hiccup. They found a security vulnerability that let people bypass the payment restrictions.
Oh, no. So much for cutting down on spam.
Right. Shows you security is always a big challenge, even for these high-profile projects.
For sure. Okay, what about those kind of more out there experimental projects? Like, what was that one? Romania's NATO token.
NATO, yeah, that one's making some waves. It's a decentralized national token, and they launched it on the Base blockchain.
A national token? That's pretty unique.
It is. They did a big airdrop, giving away a bunch of tokens to the public, and the liquidity pool, where people can trade it, is locked up for a long time. They're really committed to making it decentralized.
So it's not just a publicity stunt.
Seems like they're in it for the long haul. Okay, what about updates from some of the projects that are already out there?
Yeah, what's new in the crypto world?
Well, Agent Layer, they just burned a bunch of their agent tokens, then froze some more to make them more scarce.
Classic crypto move. Gotta increase that scarcity.
Right, and Maple Finance, they're doing on-chain credit, and they're growing like crazy. They just got a $5 million investment from Bitwise, and they launched this new product called Syrup for stablecoin loans.
So more lending and borrowing options in the DeFi space.
Yep, exactly. And there's this new project called Yield Basis. It's actually from the founder of Curve Finance, Michael Egoroff. They're all about finding sustainable ways for people to earn yield on their Bitcoin while minimizing that impermanent loss risk in liquidity pools.
Okay, so basically trying to make Bitcoin work harder for you.
That's it. Now, on the infrastructure side of things, there's this new open standard called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
What's that all about?
So it's all about making AI assistants work better with different types of data. The idea is to make AI systems more compatible with each other.
Gotcha, so making things more connected.
Right. And then, of course, there's Ethereum. They've got the Pectra upgrade coming up on April 30th. And Vitalik Buterin was just at this ETH Taipei conference talking about layer 2 scaling solutions and network security.
So Ethereum's still chugging along, innovating as always.
Yep. Oh, and we also saw some net outflows from those Ethereum spot ETFs.
What does that mean exactly?
It means people are taking their money out of those ETFs. Could be a sign that they're not as bullish on Ethereum as they used to be. But on the flip side, they just launched the Mega ETH testnet, which is a layer 2 solution for developers to play around with.
So some mixed signals on the Ethereum front.
For sure. Okay, what about the big exchanges? Binance, Bybit, Kraken, what are they up to?
Yeah, those are the gatekeepers, right? What's new with them?
Binance is always launching new stuff. Their Binance Megadrop thing just launched its fourth project, Kernel.io. They've also got this new perpetual futures contract for the Baby USDT trading pair.
Another new product.
Yep. And they've also got this new talent development program they're calling Binance Seeds. Oh, and there were those community listing votes, and we saw some weird price action with some of the smaller altcoins on Binance.
Always some drama on Binance, right?
Always. Now, Bybit, they actually saw the biggest inflow of capital of any centralized exchange in March.
Wow, people are really trusting them.
Yeah, it seems like it. But they did decide to close down their NFT marketplace, their inscription market, and that IDO product page.
So streamlining their offerings a bit?
Yeah, maybe focus on what they do best. Now, Kraken, they just got registered as a restricted dealer in Canada, which means they can offer certain services there. And CoinList, remember them. They're back in the U.S. market with the 2Z token sale.
Okay, so those are the big exchanges. What about some of the other platforms out there, like Matcha?
Matcha's expanding. They just added support for the Solana blockchain, so now they can do cross-chain transactions. And they've also implemented some cool new features to try and spot those scammy tokens, try to protect their users.
That's good because there are a lot of scams out there.
Way too many. Now, Wisdom Tree, they're a traditional asset manager, but they're getting into the crypto game too. They're expanding their platform to support more blockchains, and they've just launched 13 tokenized funds. Those are basically representations of real-world assets on the blockchain.
Interesting. So even the traditional guys are seeing the potential of blockchain.
They are. Now, quick update on Solayer. Their layered token just launched on Say Finance, which used to be called Solend. And Babylon, they've released details about their baby token and their upcoming airdrop.
Lots of new tokens popping up all the time. Hard to keep track of them all.
It is. Oh, and here's a fun one. 9DH, the meme website, they bought Hoyoung Technology and rebranded the whole thing as Meme Strategy. They're going all in on AI, blockchain, and internet culture.
So memes and crypto, a match made in heaven.
Right. And speaking of AI and crypto, there's this project called Ambient. They're building an AI-powered blockchain, and they just raised $7.2 million in seed funding.
Wow, people are throwing money at that stuff.
They are. And then there's Privacy Pools, a new privacy tool on Ethereum developed by the Zero Expo team. It's all about letting people transact more anonymously. And speaking of Ethereum, the NFT marketplace X2Y2, they're actually shutting down their trading platform to focus on AI and crypto.
Wow, that's a big shift.
It is. And back in Taiwan, KGI Bank just launched the first credit card that lets you redeem your points for cryptocurrency.
So crypto is going mainstream.
Definitely. Oh, and there's Blue Mimi Pad on the TON blockchain. They've seen a huge jump in users and transactions after they announced an airdrop.
Everyone loves a freebie. Okay, that was a lot.
It was. But hey, we're not done yet. Let's talk about meme culture and social trends, because believe it or not, they can actually have a big impact on the crypto world.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me how internet memes are shaping the financial landscape.
You wouldn't believe it. Remember that whole fake news story about a Ghibli-style AI app shutting down? Went totally viral, even though Studio Ghibli said it wasn't true.
People really love that Ghibli style.
They do, and it's everywhere. Even ChatGPT has that Ghibli image transformation feature, which, get this, the White House even used it.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know, right? And we're seeing tons of memes online that look like they came straight out of a Ghibli film.
The internet is a weird and wonderful place.
It is. Now, what about the whole meme coin phenomenon? From Binance, she had some interesting things to say about that.
What was her take?
Well, she talked about how memes are all about community and how they can actually represent a kind of investment philosophy. focusing on the long term and finding those undervalued gems, like those memes that have real staying power.
So meme coins aren't just about hype and quick profits.
Not necessarily. There can be a deeper cultural significance.
Interesting. What about the whole KOL thing? There's a lot of talk about what it means to be a key opinion leader these days.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate about that. What makes a real KOL as opposed to just some random internet celebrity?
So it's not just about having a lot of
I
followers.
mean, it's more about having real insights, building trust with your community, and actually influencing people's decisions, not just chasing the latest trends.
So authenticity matters.
Absolutely. Now, on a more serious note, there was that really sad news about Arnold Harrow.
Yeah, that was awful.
He took his own life after getting scammed to buy a meme coin. It just goes to show how dangerous these meme coins can be and how important it is to be careful.
A very real reminder that there are real risks involved.
Definitely. Now, on a lighter note, there's this new social media platform called XME. They're trying to combine AI and Web3 to create a more authentic online experience.
So like a better version of Facebook?
Something like that.
Yeah,
They're focusing on verifying users and making sure people are having genuine interactions.
sounds promising. Okay, let's shift gears again and talk about, unfortunately, scams.
Ugh, yeah, this is the part nobody likes. But it's important to be aware of what's out there.
Absolutely. What kind of scams are we seeing these days?
Well, there were reports of Coinbase users losing a ton of money to these really sophisticated social engineering attacks. It's making people wonder if there might be some internal data security issues at Coinbase.
That's worrying.
Yeah, and it seems like the scammers are getting smarter all the time.
What else is going on?
There was also this crazy story about some investigators from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, getting accused of embezzling over $21 million in crypto.
Wow, even the authorities aren't immune.
Nope. And remember that ReachMe vulnerability we talked about earlier. That's just another example of how even seemingly secure platforms can be exploited.
It's the constant cat and mouse game.
It is. But the good guys are fighting back too. They're using machine learning now to try and spot crypto malware, specifically targeting the Bitcoin Libs software library, which a lot of Bitcoin wallets use.
So using technology to fight technology.
Exactly. Oh, and there's also been a surge in scams targeting Chinese students in Hong Kong. Seems like they're laundering the money through crypto.
Ugh, it never ends.
Unfortunately not. Okay, let's move on to something a little less depressing, about some DeFi updates.
DeFi, all right, let's talk about the wild west of crypto.
So the Uniswap DAO, they had this governance proposal to try and get more people voting. They wanted to give UNI tokens to people who participate in governance.
So basically rewarding people for voting.
Yeah, but it didn't really get that much support from the community.
Getting people involved in DAO governance is tough, isn't it?
It is. Now, there was this whole drama in the Sui DeFi ecosystem. The founder of the NAVR protocol was accused of spreading FUD about a competitor, Scallop.
FUD, you mean like fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yep, that's it. And apparently he was using fake accounts to do it.
Not cool. That kind of stuff can really damage a project's reputation.
For sure. Now, on the more institutional side of things, the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, they handle tons of traditional financial transactions. Well, they've just launched a new platform for managing digital collateral in DeFi applications.
So the traditional finance world is dipping its toes into DeFi.
They are. And Hyperliquid just launched this thing called HLP. It's a protocol vault that helps with market making and provides backup liquidation. Standard Chartered Bank, they're predicting that Avalanche's AVX token could reach $250 by 2029.
That's a pretty bold prediction.
It is. Okay, ready for a quick detour into space?
Space, as in outer space.
The final frontier. SpaceX just launched their first polar mission called Fram2, and guess what? It was funded by a crypto entrepreneur.
Wow, so crypto is literally going to space now.
It is. And the mission is doing all sorts of cool research experiments. One of them is actually growing mushrooms in space.
Mace mushrooms. Okay, now I've heard it all.
Right. Okay, back down to earth now. Let's talk about how traditional finance and crypto are merging. We already touched on some of this, but are there any other big examples?
Yeah, fill me in.
Okay, so we talked about the KGI Bank Coin Enjoy card in Taiwan. And then there's Singapore Gulf Bank. They've just launched banking services specifically for crypto people.
So they're catering to the crypto crowd.
They are. But in Taiwan, even though they approved Lombard lending, where you can borrow money using your assets as collateral, they specifically said you can't use Bitcoin or NFTs as collateral.
Too risky, huh?
Seems like it. But over in South Korea, 7-Eleven stores are now accepting their digital one, their CBDC.
So the CBDC experiment is expanding.
It is. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about on-chain data. It's becoming a really important tool for understanding what's going on in the market.
I've heard about that, but I'm not really sure what it is.
So it's basically all the data that's recorded on a blockchain.
Hmm.
And people are using it to analyze things like market sentiment and investor behavior.
So, like, can you tell if people are bullish or bearish based on this data?
Exactly. There are
Yeah.
all these metrics like realized profit, realized cap, realized price, LTH MVRV, URPD. They're all ways of looking at the data and trying to figure out what's going to happen next.
Sounds complicated.
It can be, but there are lots of resources out there now to help people learn about it, like the On-Chain Data Classroom.
Okay, that's good to know. Wow, we covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
So what would you say are the biggest takeaways from all this?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that traditional finance and crypto are becoming more and more intertwined. We're seeing new banking services, crypto credit cards, and tons of investment from big institutions. And then there's the whole regulatory landscape. It's changing all over the world, and it's definitely going to shape the future of the industry.
And don't forget those pesky geopolitical events, like those new tariffs. They have a real impact on crypto now.
Yeah, crypto is part of the global economy now, for better or for worse.
So with all that in mind, here's a question for you to ponder. With all these traditional financial institutions getting into crypto and governments trying to figure out how to regulate it, how much longer until the line between traditional finance and crypto completely disappears? And what does that mean for you?
That's a great question. And here's another one for you. With AI and crypto both evolving so rapidly and starting to merge, what crazy new innovations are we going to see in the near future?
Lots to think about. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.